Rain pattered endlessly on the slate roofs of Mistwood, turning the mossy streets into a shimmering maze. No one truly remembered sunlight, only that daily life began and ended in a cold silvery blue. Inside a cramped attic, Elsie Farron hunched over her desk, pen twitching against a roll of tattered parchment. Her world was one of maps and myths, the only places she dared to explore. Disjointed echoing and clattering boots erupted from the thoroughfare below. A window knocked open, and a sudden gust lashed through the gap, scattering loose pages. One manuscript whirled away, revealing a faded star chart. Something odd caught her eye, a new pattern, a slow swirl of stars, moving, unmistakable. Not drawn but real, shifting right there on the paper. Her heart hammered. The old stories told of star signs as omens, but none spoke of stars that moved. Not since the lantern was lost. She almost called for her grandmother, but a soft, deliberate voice interrupted her panic. "Extraordinary," said a stranger, perched on the beam above, hunched beneath a ragged blue cloak. His eyes glinted gold behind thick spectacles, and beside him a tawny owl gave a fussy little shake. Elsie leaped to her feet. "Who are you? What are you doing in my house?" The owl clicked its beak. "He's more trouble than he looks. Don't mind my scholar. What you have is far more interesting than him." The stranger ignored the owl, bowing stiffly. "My name is Alder. I study celestial anomalies. That constellation, it's a guide. The Lantern of Veilshade calls to you." A cold dread gripped Elsie. The lantern was the oldest myth, guarded by twisted trees and prowling shadows none survived. "It's only a story, you're wrong." Alder drew closer, urgency flickering in his tone. "I've decoded half the old riddles. The path begins now, tonight, if we're bold. The Shadowkin grow restless, seeking the lantern for themselves. Mistwood's fate and much more is at stake." Elsie glanced from the moving constellation to Alder's fierce, hopeful eyes, then the irritable owl, and felt a stir in her chest. Fear, yes, but something else. A hunger she never allowed herself to name. "If I come," she said, voice barely above a whisper, "I set the route. You follow my maps." The owl blinked, unimpressed. "Good. Someone needs to keep this fool from wandering off a cliff." Alder's smile grew. "Deal. But we must go now, before the dark walkers pick up the scent." Elsie stuffed her charts and trembling resolve into her satchel. No time was left for cowardice, or the comfort of staying behind. With Alder and the owl, she stepped out into the endless night, hoping to find more than an old lantern. Perhaps finally a way to bring back the dawn. Storm lantern in hand, Elsie led the trio through Mistwood's crooked alleyways. Night pressed close, heavy and unbroken, except for the pools of watery blue cast by her light. Alder consulted a battered notebook, muttering to himself. Above, his owl companion flew in slow, deliberate circles, golden eyes drinking in every detail. Elsie clutched the map tighter, nerves pricking. "What exactly does your riddle say about the first step?" she whispered, risking a glance at Alder. He squinted at the faint ink, voice low. "To find the lantern's keeper, follow the stars that do not sleep, cross the bridge of Whispering Wood, and barter truth for safe passage." The owl, swooping low, croaked, "Just what a mapmaker needs. Cryptic bedtime stories." Elsie snapped back. "I'd rather riddles than silence. At least riddles have answers." She looked ahead, eyes searching for clues. The path merged into Veilshade's border, where normal trees grew thin and twisted shadows thickened. The sign, a fallen log shaped like a sleeping serpent, matching the map's cryptic marking. "This is it," Elsie whispered. They crossed into Veilshade. The world turned instantly eerie, branches locked against starlight, and the air tingled with ancient magic. Fog swirled, whispering secrets impossible to hold. Alder's hand brushed her arm. "Stay close. Spirits here barter memories for passage. Tell them only what you must." A flicker, movement between the gnarled roots. Two pale figures coalesced from mist, wisps barely more than shadows with teeth. "Travelers," hissed one, voice threading through Elsie's bones. "Truth for safe passage. Offer us a memory." Elsie's breath hitched. Alder moved, but she held him back. "I'll do it. Just a small truth." She stared at the wisp, shaking. "I confess, I'm terrified I'll never measure up to those who came before me." A chill swept through her. The wisp smiled, seeming almost gentle. Brave little truth. Passage granted. Mist parted. The way forward revealed itself. Adler offered her a proud nod. The owl whispered, amazement soft in his gravelly voice. "Not bad, mapmaker." They trudged deeper, exhausted but alive, and somewhere inside a tiny coil of fear unwound. For the first time, Elsie felt not just afraid, but seen. And somewhere overhead, that shifting constellation pulsed, beckoning them further into Veilshade's hungry dark. Thick veils of fog swallowed the path behind them. Every now and then, Elsie glimpsed peculiar lights flickering beyond the trees, sometimes blue, sometimes red, always vanishing when she looked twice. Alder trailed a few paces behind, deep in his cryptic notes. "The wisps are restless tonight," he muttered, voice barely audible over the drip and crackle of the forest. The owl glided low, scanning the underbrush. "See that, up ahead? Those stones, old boundary markers. Spirits use them to confuse travelers." Elsie slowed at the clustered stones, oddly carved with winding runes. "We'll get nowhere just watching our feet," she said. "We need to use the sky, even if there's no real sky left." Alder peered upward as Elsie fumbled out her star map. Sure enough, the shifting constellation hovered overhead, casting a cone of pale, unmoving light that skirted around the stones. With a surge of determination, she nudged Alder. "Trust my lines. I know where the world bends." She closed her eyes, tracing routes in her mind, letting instinct fill the blanks old books couldn't. Her fingers danced over the map, and the starlight angled sharply, guiding her around the boundary markers just as the spirits began to wail. One mist-shrouded form lunged, fingers stretching, eyes wide with hunger. The owl swooped and snapped at it, talons flashing. "Not so fast, fog breath! The girl's not yours!" Elsie rushed forward. "Alder, now! Move!" Roots twisted, snagging Alder's ankle. He yelped, tumbling to the moss. "Help!" Without thinking, Elsie dove back, slashing a branch at the grasping roots. "Let go of him!" she shouted. The spirit wailed, recoiling from her defiance. Alder kicked free, breathless. Together they scrambled past the markers as the haunting cries faded. Alder bent over, catching his breath. How did you know what to do?" "I didn't," Elsie said, shaking. "But I had to do something. I won't let fear rule me anymore." For a second, Alder just looked at her. Really looked. "That was brave, Elsie. You got us through." The owl landed by her feet. "Maybe you're not just a bookworm after all." The path ahead sloped downward, the ever-dark deepening. But at its heart, just beyond a tangle of blackened thorns, a faint, golden gleam pierced the gloom. The lantern, closer than ever, but so were the dangers lurking in the shadows, ready to test the resolve and growing courage of their mapmaker guide. As they ventured farther into Veilshade's heart, the air thickened. Shadows twisted, flickering just outside their light, and every branch seemed to stretch hungrily for Elsie's lantern. The owl flapped overhead, eyes sweeping the gloom. Alder paced tightly behind, clutching his notebook, as if it could shield him from the unseen. Elsie squinted through the tangled thorns blocking their path. The golden gleam, the promise of the lantern, shone brighter and warmer, beckoning. She knelt, pulling out a roll of parchment and tracing lines with trembling fingers. "There's a way through. Ancient paths always mark their dangers. If this is true Veilshade, the riddle says, where thorns grow deepest, trust the promise beneath old roots." Alder examined the snarl of briars warily. "What does it mean?" "It means we go down," Elsie replied, gaze sliding to a knot of earth near the thickets. She dug with her hands, dirt packing under her nails until she unearthed a cracked, spiral-shaped stone. Underneath, a narrow tunnel gaped, barely big enough for them to crawl through. The owl wriggled its feathers. "I'll scout ahead. If something's hungry, better it finds me first than you." He swooped inside, his voice echoing. "No bones yet. Could be worse." Elsie chuckled nervously, but braced herself and crawled in after the owl, followed by Alder. They crept through dark earth and twisting roots, prayers tumbling from Alder's lips. At last, the tunnel widened into a secret hollow, lit by hundreds of tiny fireflies, the heart of an ancient underground grove. Amid twisted roots, a lyre-shaped stone pedestal glimmered faintly, and above it hovered a silver feather, spinning slowly. Alder reached for the feather, but Elsie stopped him. "Wait! If the riddles are right, everything here has a cost." She read the runes etched on the pedestal. "Only the honest may touch." Alder hesitated, voice soft. "I've always hidden behind my studies. I never had the courage to face the world until today." Elsie nodded and stepped forward. "I'm afraid, too, of failing, of being alone forever, but I want to try." She reached out, steadying herself, and brushed the feather. It flared golden, and the roots shifted, parting the ground above. Daylight, no, not quite. but a vivid golden glow fell through the opening. The thorns above retreated, revealing a staircase winding higher into Veilshade. The owl landed beside them, voice soft for once. "You answered honestly. The path is open." Elsie stood, feeling taller. Her fears felt lighter now, traded for something like hope. "Let's find that lantern before something else does." With a united stride and new fire in their hearts, they climbed into the golden-lit stairs, ready for whatever Veilshade had waiting in the dark above. The golden glow faded as the trio left the secret grove, but Elsie felt its warmth linger inside her. They climbed the staircase, spiraling through ancient oak trunks and tangled moss, the air changing, less cold, almost expectant. The owl fluttered ahead, wings brushing the low ceiling of roots. "We're being watched," he warned, keeping his head at a nervous tilt. Alder pressed close, voice tense. "Something's different up here. Shadows move too easily. Stick together." The wooden stairs gave way to a clearing surrounded by spectral trees, their leaves silvery and unmoving. In the center stood a figure, tall, robed in shadow, eyes reflecting 1,000 glints of starlight. The lantern's light radiated behind her, chained within a glass globe. Elsie gasped. "Is that—" "The Veilshade Warden," the owl croaked, feathers bristling. "No legend ever said she'd bargain." The warden's voice glided out, cool as midnight. "You have come far, but the lantern is not so easily claimed. Why do you seek the dawn? What will you give for it?" Elsie's mouth went dry. She glanced back at Alder, his eyes wide with doubt, then back to the star-bright warden. "Mistwood is dying. Every year the darkness grows colder. People need hope again." A faint smile curved the warden's lips. "Hope. Always the currency of mortals. But you are not the only seekers." From the shadows, 2 new figures emerged, spectral, hunched, with cruel intent in their eyes. Rival shadow spirits, hungry for the lantern's power. Alder stepped forward, trembling. "We'll answer your riddle? Test us. Let us prove our intent." The warden's gaze moved between them, unreadable. "Very well, each must answer one truth. If you fail, your journey ends now." The owl gave a nervous flutter. "I'll go first. I pretend to be fearless, but I'm scared of losing friends again." Alder swallowed, voice barely steady. "I've envied others that courage all my life, but I want to find my own, starting now." Elsie met the warden's gaze, pulse thundering. "I never believed I could change anything, but I'm here now, trying my best, even if I'm terrified." The warden's eyes glimmered with strange warmth. "Braver and more honest than most who try. You may continue." She raised her hand, the glass globe and lantern's light hovering just out of reach. "But the test is not finished. To take the lantern, you must face your greatest challenge yet. Not just the shadows in this wood, but what lies within yourselves." Without warning, the world around them began to distort. The rival spirits screamed, and the clearing split apart in a cyclone of darkness and illusions, pitching Elsie and her friends headlong into the next trial, one that would strip every pretense bare. The world spun wildly, a dizzying plunge through inky night. Elsie stumbled, landing on cold, hard stone. Shadow and light flickered in grotesque patterns as she scrambled to her feet, clutching her satchel. Alder and the owl appeared nearby, both shaken but alive. "Where are we?" Alder whispered, his voice cracking. The owl ruffled his feathers, glaring at the shifting horizon. "An illusion. The warden's making us face ourselves." Walls of mist wove into the old streets of Mistwood, more haunting than home. Elsie gaped. Her family's cottage, dilapidated, the windows shuttered tight, stood just ahead. She heard her father's voice, low and tired. "Elsie, when will you make something of yourself?" She shook her head, willing the words away. "He never understood me. He never saw what I could do." Alder suddenly gasped beside her. He stared at twin images, one himself as a child, bullied and overlooked, the other, a proud, confident version who didn't flinch. Around him, voices mocked and doubted. The owl circled overhead, the illusions grasping at him too. Shapes from his past, lost companions, lonely nights, flickered through the haze. Elsie's hands balled into fists. "No illusions can tell me who I am. I'm finished hiding in maps and shadows." She stepped forward, speaking to the twisted vision of her father. "You're just my fear, nothing more." The memory snarled, but dissolved in a hiss of mist. Elsie, heart pounding, reached for Alder's arm. "You don't have to listen to those voices. You're braver than you think." Alder met her gaze, wide-eyed. "But what if I'm not enough? What if all I ever am is afraid?" She squeezed his hand. It doesn't matter how afraid you are, it matters that you walk forward anyway. Alder nodded and stepped past his shadows. The owl, emboldened, let his own ghosts pass harmlessly by. The illusions receded, barely a whisper now. The three stood tall, not untouched, but strengthened. Suddenly the warden's voice echoed once more. You have faced yourselves and prevailed, but there are perils that cannot be conquered by honesty alone. The mist parted. The clearing returned, the lantern shining brighter, and the rival spirits writhing in fury. The next challenge was at hand, and this one could demand a sacrifice no riddle could predict. A hush fell as the illusions faded. Around the group the rival spirits hovered, desperate and wild-eyed. The lantern hovered just beyond the warden's reach, casting trembling shafts of gold across the fractured roots. Elsie steadied herself, breath coming slow. What now? No more riddles, no more tricks. What's the last challenge? The warden studied them, her shadowed face melancholy. The lantern draws on hope, but hope alone is not enough. Every dawn needs a sacrifice. To rekindle the light, someone must stay to guard it, never to leave Veilshade again. A stunned silence stretched long and brittle. The owl looked from Elsie to Alder, his feathers stiff. She's serious. That's the way of old magic. Nothing for free. It's always the cost. Alder's hands trembled. We can't leave the kingdom trapped in darkness. But who? How do we choose? The rival spirits surged forward, their voices cutting like broken glass. Let us take the lantern. We have waited centuries. We alone understand the night. Elsie shook her head, stepping between the lantern and the spirits. You want power, not peace. You'd smother Mistwood forever. One spirit lunged, but the warden's hand flickered out, pinning it in place. You're right, mapmaker. The lantern's guardian must choose not power, but hope. Alder spoke, voice thin but sure. Elsie, you've carried us this far. Your maps, your courage, without you, the kingdom never has a chance. He trailed off, pain in his eyes. The owl shuffled, grave for once. I lost my last family to the night. But I won't ask you to give up your world, Elsie. Elsie's heart pounded with dread and purpose. Her mind raced. Was she truly brave enough to make the ultimate choice? Was there some way through? All around her, the lantern's glow pulsed, inviting, promising sunrise, but demanding something really precious in return. Slowly, she looked at her friends. We have to find a way that saves Mistwood, and us. There's still a path forward. I just need to believe in it, and in myself too. The warden watched, something like hope flickering across her ancient face. Your time is running short, brave ones. The dawn will wait for no one forever. Elsie stared into the lantern's golden heart and began to piece together a desperate plan, even as the rival spirits circled, ready to steal the light for themselves if she faltered just once. Time seemed to speed up, the glow of the lantern throbbing like a heartbeat. Elsie's mind raced. Her whole life she'd solved riddles with ink and paper, but never one like this. The spirits circled hungrily. The warden's eyes were grieving, hopeful, patient. Alder stepped beside her, voice a quavering whisper. Elsie, if there's another way, I'll help you find it. Don't let the shadows choose for us. The owl landed at her shoulder, talons gentle. Think, mapmaker, if you charted every truth you know, every hope, where's the path out? Elsie knelt, unrolling her battered star map. She drew the lantern, its position scrawled against a web of lines and constellations old and new. For a moment, all was silent, but her pencil scratching and her heartbeat thrumming. Her eyes widened. The lantern needs a guardian, but it never said it had to be just one. Alder frowned. What do you mean? She pressed her hand to the map, voice rising. All this time, every challenge has asked for honesty, for admitting fear and sharing it together. What if the lantern's power is meant to be kept by more than a single soul? If we share the burden, will it accept us? The warden's shadow stretched. Such a sacrifice has never been tried, but light shared burns brightest. The rival spirits howled in outrage, shrinking from the hope in Elsie's voice. It is not done, only one. The darkness is eternal. Alder squeezed Elsie's shoulder. I choose to share this. One alone would be lost, but together maybe we're strong enough. The owl nodded solemnly. I have kept Night's Watch alone long enough. I'm staying too if it means dawn for Mistwood. Elsie swallowed the last of her fear. She stood with her friends facing the lantern as a trio, equal, unbroken. We offer ourselves together. We'll be guardians, not prisoners. Let the light choose. The warden's face shimmered, pride warring with grief. Then lay your hands upon the lantern, now. The three placed hands and wings upon the glass. Instantly warmth surged through them, weaving fears and hopes, memories and dreams. Light exploded out, banishing the rival spirits with a final, furious shriek. All of Veilshade trembled as something ancient and beautiful began to awaken, yet Elsie could feel that the price was not yet fully paid. One last test must remain if dawn was truly to return. Light flooded the clearing, golden and fierce, making even the deepest shadows tremble and recoil. Elsie, Alder, and the owl clung together around the lantern, their senses blazing. The weight of countless hopes hummed through their joined hands. The world outside the circle shimmered, caught between night and day. The warden approached, her form clearer now, half solid, half luminous, with sorrow and wisdom tangled in her eyes. "You have done what no others dared," she said, her voice gentle, almost proud. "But light is not given lightly. The lantern's power must reach all or none." The ground shook as the rival spirits made one desperate final lunge. Shadow snaked at their feet, icy and wild. With a fierce cry, Alder tightened his grip. "No more hiding, no more letting fear rule me." The lantern's light blazed from his hands, forming a wall of flame. The owl, fierce and trembling, spread his wings wide, light feathering out in flares of courage. "No more loneliness, not while I have friends beside me." Elsie felt the lantern's old pain, the pain of a world bruised by fear and broken trust. She forced herself to meet it head-on, heart-thumping. No more maps with blank spaces. No more pretending a quiet girl can't change the world. Mistwood will see dawn again. I believe it now. The spirits screamed, dissolving into ribbons of shadow. Around them, Veilshade began to shift, branches turning from black-gray to emerald, flowers blooming where frost had lingered for generations. Still, a shimmering barrier ringed the trio and the lantern. The warden's eyes brimmed with tears. "To finish this, you must pour every hope and honest fault into the lantern. No walls, no secrets. If you hold anything back, the darkness will return fiercer than before." Elsie's heart clenched. "So all our scars, all our dreams must be laid bare?" "Everything," whispered the warden. "To heal the world, you must risk breaking yourselves." The trio exchanged uneasy, determined glances. The last test would not be fought with claws or fire, but with total, shattering truth. The lantern pulsed, waiting. Suspense built like a drawn breath, because dawn hovered so close now, but the cost of failure was darkness deeper than any before, for everyone and forever. The silence was absolute. The lantern floated before them, its glow gentle, waiting, inviting, terrifying. Elsie drew a shaking breath, letting herself feel every wound, every longing. "I always thought I had to solve everything alone, but I can't. I want to belong, to make a difference, to love and be loved, and I'm still afraid I'll let you down." Alder stepped in close, his voice stripped of pretense. "I pretended I didn't care when people looked past me. Truth is, I wanted to be important so badly I hid my real self. But I want to be seen, just as I am, even if I'm scared most days." The owl ruffled his feathers, eyes misty. "I've blamed myself for every friend I've lost to the dark. I pushed folks away to keep my heart safe. But I miss warmth, I miss laughter. I want to stand brave with you, no matter what comes." Their confessions mingled, becoming silver threads that sank into the lantern's heart. The light flared, blinding, growing warmer, deeper. For a moment, Elsie felt herself opening, utterly vulnerable, but not alone. In that moment, all their pain and hope fused into something stronger. The lantern sang, a note pure and clear. Its glow erupted outward, racing through Veilshade's woods, out past the mist and ruin, over the slumbering rooftops of Mistwood. Night shivered and cracked. The sun, golden, sweet reel, breached the horizon for the first time in 100 years. Flowers sparkled to life, children cried in wonder. Elders fell to their knees. On a distant hill, Elsie's childhood home blushed rose in the new morning. For the first time, she could see herself not as a shadow, but as someone who had helped bring a miracle. In the center of Veilshade, the warden bowed to the trio. "You did what none before you dared. You trusted, even with nothing left to give. Such courage is the true price of dawn." Alder grinned through tears. The owl flexed his wings in the sunlight, and Elsie let hope, real, unshakable hope, fill her chest. "We did it together," she whispered. Mistwood awoke, phoenix-like, under sunlight both strange and achingly familiar. The lantern remained suspended above the veils, now tended by 3 guardians who would never have to face the dark alone. Their names became legend, a testament not only to the dawn, but to the bravery that called it forth. And so, as light spilled over the kingdom and into the long-closed hearts of its people, Elsie knew this was just the start of days unmarked by shadows and of her own story, unafraid to claim hope all the way to the horizon.